Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. A lot has been going on in women's soccer and the NWSL, especially the NWSL. Don't get me started on the CBA agreement debacle. I haven't done a video on that because I'm waiting for more information to come out. To sum that up though, NWSL players and the NWSL Players Association, they want a CBA agreement, and the Players Association is trying to negotiate for one with the league/ownership. The Players Association set a deadline of February 1st for the CBA agreement to be put in place or finalized. No CBA agreement, no players showing up for preseason. It is January 24th as of filming this video, and the league/ownership have a week left to get things sorted out and get the CBA put in place. It would be wise if they did that, just saying. Anyway, on to some good news. NWSL fans and Washington Spirit fans have been waiting for months for this. So, the NWSL Board of Governors voted unanimously to approve Michele Kang to take over ownership of the Washington Spirit. You guys and Spirit fans, this has been a long, hard-fought, and painful battle. I'm briefly going to recap everything that has led to this moment, and feel free to skip ahead. I'll leave the time in the pinned comment where I'll talk about what this means for the Spirit moving forward under Kang, what I hope would happen, but who knows. I'll also leave links to my previous Washington Spirit videos if you would like more detail into the recap as well. Apparently I made like 5 or 6 Washington Spirit videos. Alright, so it's crazy how all this came about. There's so much more to this besides the battle for ownership between Steve Baldwin and Michele Kang. Let's go back to last year, August 2021. Richie Burke, then head coach of the Washington Spirit, is reported to step down to, I think it was an office position, due to health reasons. Then a day or two later, Kaya McCullough, a former Washington Spirit player, comes forward with her story detailing verbal and emotional abuse at the hands of Richie Burke. This would range from threats, criticism, personal insults, and racially charged insensitive jokes. He would also target players he didn't like, and players also came forward anonymously and would describe Burke as unbelievably volatile. He had even berated a rookie player on the Spirit team to the point she had a panic attack. Remember that for later. It was also revealed that Richie Burke had previous allegations of emotional and verbal abuse. A mother whose son was allegedly abused by Burke expressed her concerns to the NWSL and the Washington Spirit, but Burke was still hired. After McCullough's story broke out, people were rightfully upset, especially when Richie Burke's past was brought to light. Questions were raised regarding why Burke was hired, especially when he had these allegations of verbal and emotional abuse against him. After Kaya McCullough's story came out, Burke was fired, but it doesn't really end there. On September 12, 2021, the Washington Spirit was supposed to take on OL Reign, but because the Spirit team wasn't following medical protocols, the match was forfeited in favor of OL Reign, with the final score being 3-0. Earlier that week, the Washington Spirit were also supposed to play the Portland Thorns, but that match was postponed for the same reason: failure to follow medical protocols. Eventually, the Portland Thorns Washington Spirit match would also be declared a forfeit as well in favor of the Portland Thorns. The match was recorded as 3-0. It's at this point we start to see cracks forming in the Washington Spirit. Like, something was going on, but no one was really sure what it was exactly. What I can say at this point was it wasn't good. A week or two later, there was an investigation into the Washington Spirit, and more disturbing details were uncovered. The investigation revealed that Spirit owner Steve Baldwin and Spirit management created a very toxic work environment for players and employees. The investigation revealed Steve Baldwin and Spirit executives knew about Richie Burke's treatment of players and did not report it and did not take action. In fact, Steve Baldwin, Richie Burke, and Larry Best, who was the director of sporting operations, made it very difficult to do so. Baldwin was also known to hire his friends, people who were unqualified for the jobs at the club. And multiple male employees made misogynistic comments in front of female colleagues. I remember people referring to it as an old boys club, and I agree. Players and employees were afraid to speak up out of fear of backlash and losing their jobs. The investigation also revealed that multiple people came forward saying Baldwin rage traded multiple Spirit players who he believed to have defied him or were disloyal to him. Most notably, Mallory Pugh and Rose Lavelle. I find it funny, and I still kind of find it funny, because Mallory Pugh, she was 22 or 21 at the time. And imagine being a grown man and having your ego threatened by a 21 or 22-year-old. Imagine how fragile your ego is to be threatened by a 21 or 22-year-old. It just goes to show the type of person Steve Baldwin is. Baldwin would come out and call the rage trades absurd. What's absurd is how much I like the term rage trade. Around this time, many fans and Spirit fans were demanding that Steve Baldwin sell the Washington Spirit. The hashtag #SellTheTeamSteve was a favorite among many NWSL and Spirit fans. I think I've even seen it on a couple signs during Spirit games last year. Anyway, it's October 2021. NWSL fans and women's soccer fans were all reeling from Mana Shim and Sinead Farrelly's allegations of sexual abuse and coercion by former Portland Thorns head coach Paul Riley. Demands for Baldwin to step down and sell the Washington Spirit preferably to Michele Kang increased. On October 6, 2021, Baldwin did the thing that surprised many of us. Baldwin decided to step down, saying in a statement, "I have decided to resign as CEO and managing partner of the Washington Spirit effective immediately. Club president Ben Olsen will have full authority over all club operations." So that's it, right? It's all over? Steve Baldwin stepped down, is no longer the owner of the Spirit? Well, not quite. The Spirit players who have stayed silent up to this point then came forward with a letter setting the record straight. It reads, "When we asked you, Steve Baldwin, to step aside, step back from management, we clearly meant you should not retain any management control. We are sure you understood that. You still have a firm grip as majority owner on the decisions that need to be made at the club, even if they are made from behind a veil. In your final act as managing partner, you passed the baton to someone you hired who has virtually no experience in the role you left him. We have no confidence in that management structure, especially on the soccer operations side, and we do not have reason to believe that you won't be involved. This is not a fresh start." There is more to this letter, and you can find the whole thing on Andy Sullivan's Twitter account. I also did a video discussing this letter as well. So to put it simply, Baldwin may have stepped down as CEO and managing partner, but he was still the majority owner of the Spirit, which meant he still had power and could make decisions from behind the scenes, which is what Spirit players were probably worried about. Not only that, if Ben Olsen was really that ineffective and had no experience, Baldwin may have been able to influence him and have control over him. I mean, that's probably why he was hired in the first place. Baldwin probably saw him as someone he could control or manipulate. The Spirit players then finished the letter saying, "The person we trust is Michele. She continuously puts players' needs and interests first. She listens. She believes that this can be a profitable business. And you have always said you intended to hand the team over to female ownership. That moment is now. Please sell to Michele at a reasonable price. As I've said in another video, if Baldwin actually cared about the Spirit team, he would sell the team to Michele Kang, someone the players trusted and liked and had stood up to Baldwin over his treatment of women at the club. But that didn't happen because Baldwin just wants to be in control and have power. He also wants to win and sees giving the team to Michele Kang as losing. In other words, trying to pull the Spirit team away from Baldwin is going to be like pulling teeth. He's not going to give up the team unless he's forced to do so, which is kind of what happened in the end. But October 8th, 2021, Steve Baldwin rescinds an offer to sell the Spirit to Michele Kang because, of course he did, and because of his fragile ego. Alright, so now, jumping ahead, it's November 16th, 2021. In a few days, the Washington Spirit would be taking on the Chicago Red Stars in the NWSL Finals. On November 16th, though, Jenna Hellstrom, another former Spirit player and a player on the Canadian women's national team, came forward with her own story of abuse at the hands of former Spirit coach Richie Burke, who at this point has been fired. Do you remember earlier when I said Richie Burke berated a player to the point she had a panic attack? Jenna Hellstrom is that player. I'm not going to go into much detail about the stuff he said to her, but yeah, the stuff he said to her was cruel. Like, not even cruel. I'll even go as far as to say sadistic. Burke did not like Jenna Hellstrom at all, and I did talk about this in another video, linked below, and I remember just getting angrier the more I talked about it. So Hellstrom, she tried to go to the NWSL Players Association for help, but they told her to talk to Baldwin. Hellstrom saw that as pointless because Burke was besties with Steve Baldwin and Larry Best, and had even coached their kids. Hellstrom said, "I think the ownership had way too much power. If you're best friends with the ownership, okay, you can be head coach no matter what." Basically, yeah, pretty much. At this point, we're nearing the NWSL Finals. When Jenna Hellstrom's story broke, I think fans were exhausted and tired, and some didn't want the Washington Spirit to win, which was, kind of understandable because of everything Steve Baldwin was and wasn't doing up to this point. Despite everything, on November 20th, 2021, the Washington Spirit would go on to beat the Chicago Red Stars 2-1. What was nice to see was Michele Kang had come out onto the field to celebrate with the Washington Spirit players. Jumping ahead to December 27, 2021, Washington Spirit investors are demanding Steve Baldwin sell the team to Michele Kang because they're tired of this. Spirit investors, including former Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle, were threatening legal action against Baldwin if he didn't sell the Spirit to the highest bidder, which was Michele Kang. Todd Boehly, a billionaire, was offering $25 million for the Washington Spirit, while Michele Kang was offering $35 million for the Spirit. Guess who Baldwin wanted to negotiate with? That's right, Todd Boehly. Investors stepped in and threatened legal action against Baldwin if he accepted Boehly's offer. Like, why would you take the offer that's 30% less than the highest bid? People close to the situation said despite players saying they wanted Kang, Baldwin did not want to sell to her under any circumstance. Like, she could be offering him like $100 million for the Spirit, and he would probably still sell to Todd Boehly, who's only offering $25 million. January 11, 2021. The light at the end of the tunnel, we're almost there. Michele Kang takes over majority ownership of the Washington Spirit. Kang was able to get more Washington Spirit voting shares from other investors and reportedly holds more shares than Steve Baldwin and Bill Lynch. Kang and those backing her have a 52% share of voting interest. Baldwin, on the other hand, quote, no longer has control of the team or the ability to dictate the terms of any sale, end quote. January 22, 2021. A few days earlier, the NWSL Board of Governors met with Michele Kang and Steve Baldwin to decide if Kang is fit to be the owner of the Washington Spirit. Steve Baldwin is reported to have spoken for an hour on why Michele Kang shouldn't be the owner of the Spirit. Sources say he gave petty reasons as to why she shouldn't be the owner. However, the NWSL Board of Governors approved Kang's ownership to the Washington Spirit, saying in a statement, our collective focus is to create the best environment for the Washington Spirit players, fans, team, and employees, and to operate the NWSL in a manner that supports excellence on the field of play and in front offices around the league. Our priority is determining what is in the best interest of the NWSL, Washington Spirit, its players, and the DC soccer community. We believe why Michele is fully committed to elevating this club and delivering for its players, and it is now a matter for WSP shareholders to determine who holds a controlling interest. We are committed to allowing the required ownership process to be resolved in the appropriate, orderly manner. We will provide any additional updates once that process has taken place. So finally, it happened. The last thing that needs to happen now is that the Washington Soccer Proprieties, or the WSP, will have to vote on whether Kang will operate as the Washington Spirit's controlling owner. I think it's going to be a done deal. Kang has a lot of backers, investors, and supporters behind her, especially with the Spirit players behind her as well. Some of the investors who were backing Baldwin are now on Kang's side. Baldwin, throughout this whole mess, just proved he does not and never had the best interests of the team and players. Hell, he didn't even have the best interests of the investors. Willing to get 30% less than the highest bid, just because of spite. I'm hoping that once Kang is officially made the owner of the Washington Spirit, she will be able to hopefully clean up the club and get rid of Baldwin's old boys club. I think she will have no problem finding people qualified to fill those roles on the Washington Spirit. So yeah, this was a long, hard-fought, and emotionally draining battle, and the fact that Michele Kang wasn't going to give up on her team, wasn't going to give up on these players, shows how much she genuinely loves and cares about the Washington Spirit. She wants to do what's right and best for the players. I'm hoping that after everything the Washington Spirit has been through these past few months, that they have an easygoing and stress-free 2022 season. The players deserve it. Lastly, we do have to thank Kaya McCullough for coming forward with her story. As other fans on Twitter pointed out, it was because of her that this kicked off the chain reaction of events that led to this very moment. It may seem a little far-fetched of me to say this, but Kaya McCullough, along with Jenna Hellstrom and other former Spirit players, saved their teammates at the end of the day. And I guess that's kind of beautiful in its own way. Anyway, this was long. I probably missed a few things, but this was kind of the gist of these past few months. That being said, it's bedtime, for me at least. Anyway, thank you for watching/listening. That is all I have for you guys today or tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.